Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Today, I'd like to ask everybody listening, do we have any project managers out there? What methodology do you use? Are you an agile or a waterfall kind of person? And do you notice a big difference either way? Are your projects still delayed or still coming in over budget? Well, today's guest is an inventor and former award-winning Microsoft designer who decided to leave his comfortable agency job to create a startup that helps organisations empower their employees to bring their best and most creative selves to work. The company he founded is a project and resource management tool called 10,000 Feet, and it's now used by some of the largest companies in the world, including international real estate conglomerates, gaming studios, global sports brands, and even auto manufacturers. As always, I don't want to reveal any spoilers too early in the podcast, so buckle up and hold on tight, because it's time for me to beam your ears all the way to Seattle so we can speak with Martijn van Tilburg from 10,000 Feet about his entrepreneurial story. So a massive warm welcome to the show. I mean, you're an inventor and former award-winning Microsoft designer, but can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
I'm the CEO and co-founder of 10,000 Feet, which is a software company in Seattle. And to tell you a little bit about my background, like first and foremost, kind of like I'm a designer. I'm a trained industrial designer, and I started my career at Microsoft like quite a while ago, designing productivity tools for Microsoft Office, so Outlook, SharePoint, Word, those kind of tools.
Oh, okay. What kind of tools were you involved with? Was it like the add-ons or?
No, it's basically, as a user experience designer, you work with a team to come up with what features should be included and what it would look like. So it is products like Outlook, the desktop apps, and the original version of the first version of SharePoint. I worked on that. I worked there for almost 9 years, so I worked on many different products that I've shipped to many people.
So here we are now in 2017, and we're pretty much looking down the barrel of automation. Creativity is now critical currency for us, especially if we want to stand apart from the machines. But I believe you set out to help advance human-powered innovation, starting at business level with your new company that you mentioned there, which is 10,000 Feet. I mean, can you tell me a little bit more about your journey, the problems that you could see businesses struggling with, and ultimately the solution that you went on to create as a result of that?
Yeah, definitely. So I said already, kind of like I have this experience in designing productivity tools. Like what I did after Microsoft was join a design firm called Artifact, which is a consultancy, kind of like a technology design consultancy. They would work with Fortune 500 technology companies to help them come up with future products. So these two kind of like experiences that I had came together in 10,000 Feet, where like on one hand designing productivity tools, and on the other hand learning how to run a professional services firm. And so we've built 10,000 Feet as a tool to help professional services manage that. And like when you think about professional services, these companies are like primarily they're people companies, right? Like people are our main assets, and these people work on many different projects. But the problem that's happening often is that information about these people and these projects get locked into silos. So these silos could either be project-based, because like teams work with their own tools on their own individual projects, or they could be department-based, like information is locked into like finance departments or project management groups. But decisions that need to be made on this information that's locked in are often quite complex. And what people are doing is they might use Excel to extract that information and try to use that as a tool to base their decisions on. Or like large enterprises, they have the luxury to use tools like PPM tools, like portfolio project management tools, but these are not like available for small and medium business. So what we're trying to do is we've created 10,000 Feet as a tool to solve this problem, to surface this kind of like across project and across people information, such as, what projects are going on, are they on budget, who's working on what, in a very kind of like high level and easy to use software. So that these companies, these professional services, can make these have the information to make these day-to-day decisions. And so we've been doing this. So we started 10,000 feet in 2012, and we've been going strong for the last 5 years, and more than 1,000 companies are using this software to to run their business.
So 10,000 feet is a project and resource management tool, but can you expand on that a little, and also what makes it unique from all those other similar solutions out there? Or let's say they've got people listening that's a project manager and they're just happily using Microsoft Project, for an example.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I think Microsoft Project is a great example of a tool that is great to figure out kind of like within a project, what the different steps are. Like we are focusing more on across projects, so the portfolio of projects that a company has going on. So these tools can be used together. They're not like, we are often kind of like a tool that's used in addition to very detailed project management tools, even kind of like task tracking tools, or if it's a software company, it might be like specific agile tools. But so like to talk a bit about like what 10,000 feet is. So it's software as a service, so everyone can log in on the browser, and you would store your list of people and have a profile on all of your employees or your contractors, and you have their discipline, their skills, and their availability stored in 10,000 feet. Then on the other side, you have all your projects stored, and each project has a status page that tells you what the overall high-level timelines are for the project, like who's working on it, what the budget is. And it's kind of a status page that's at a moment's notice you can kind of like look at and see kind of like what's going on with this project from a high level. And then the core of the product is the schedule. That's where these two things come together. So we create this kind of like very visual schedule where you can see across people and across projects who's working on what. And that helps to answer questions like a new project comes in. When can we start it? When is the key resource, the key person that needs to work on this available? And then the last part is more around reporting and analytics. It's kind of like and reporting and analytics allows you to do three things. Like one, people can track time using 10,000 feet, so you can kind of like see what are the billable hours that need to be put into an invoice. You can understand how people are working within your company, so uncover kind of like insights around like which departments are often recording more hours than were planned, or which client is most profitable for us. And then the third part is forecasting. So because like all these plans are laid out in the future, so you can kind of get a view of like how much business do you have in 3 months? Like, is there an implication for business development? Or like forecasting around hiring, like what if there's a lot of work coming in 4 months? Do you need to hire kind of like certain disciplines to do that work?
Now, I also believe that 10,000 feet has data on thousands of companies about what actually makes their projects successful, and equally what makes them fail. So from your experience, what have you seen to be the most important factors for companies to succeed in their projects?
Yeah, so we talk a lot to our customers, both in terms of like understanding needs that they might have that relate to our product specifically, but we also talk to them to just more understand better kind of like what they find important in running their business. We have quite an interesting series of interviews on our website from professional services companies, design firms, and software development firms and business consultants, where they talk about kind of like what motivates them in starting their business and also like what's important in running the business. And when you think about, in a way, all companies, but specifically professional services companies, consultancies, there's basically kind of like three forces at play in running that business. So one is client satisfaction. Like, do you create quality work that adds value to like adds value for your client? Then the second one is team happiness. So like, is your team kind of like motivated to do the work? And then the third one is profitability. The balance between these three kind of like determines how to be successful, kind of like within your company. And obviously you can optimize for one, right? So you could say, well, I don't optimize for team happiness. It just means that you have a lot of hiring to do often, or you can not optimize for client satisfaction, and it can work if you're maybe a restaurant in a touristy area. It just means that you have to find new customers all the time. You can't rely on kind of like repeat business. And I think one interesting thing is that, especially with this team happiness, is that there is so much changing recently in kind of like what motivates people to do their work. And many employees of our customers we call them kind of like creative thinkers. So they're people that deal with ambiguous projects. So they know how to go, like with their project, it goes from A to B, and they know what B looks like, but how to get there is kind of like their expertise. That's not predicted. And what those people want is autonomy. That's what makes them happy. So basically having the freedom within their work, figure out kind of like how to do their work. And right now there's a lot of tools out there that are very top down, and it almost becomes kind of like a way for people to be told what to do, and it's very hierarchical, and it's stifling their creativity. And then so that's one thing that's happening. And then the other thing that's happening, so this is more short term, right? The current workforce is motivated by this kind of things. The other thing that's happening that's a little bit more long term is that more and more people will become creative thinkers. Like if you think about automation, or like the rise of artificial intelligence, it means that that a lot of the procedural tasks that people might do now will be taken care of by these systems. And you can think of this as, okay, my job goes away, or you can think of it like what's left of my job in that scenario, and what's left is more the strategic decision making, the kind of like the open-ended kind of like exploration of projects that's left. So more people will become kind of like creative thinkers that might currently be accountants or operations people, as kind of like automation happens. So what motivates them is going to be also more around autonomy.
But when it does come to project management, there are so many disciplines now, and the whole agile versus waterfall debate is an entire episode on its own. But no matter what your preference is, projects still go off the rails. I mean, but you've just released an industry report about the state of project management, and also one of the surprising findings was that more than half of project managers said that over 75% of their projects still run over budget. I mean, why do you think so many companies have projects that continuously go over budget?
Yeah, that's quite surprising, isn't it?
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I think we can all relate to it as well. Like many of our projects probably go over budget. So yeah, that was quite interesting. And I think there's another kind of like insight that we got there, and that was that people that said that they are more transparent in sharing their kind of like their business information internally, more likely to keep their projects on track. So when you help kind of like disperse that information, it's kind of like this cross-project information, you can try to keep your projects more on budget. But like we've been thinking a lot about this issue, like not just for our customers, kind of like how can they be better and kind of like being profitable for their projects, but also internally. Like we also want to do projects that finish on time and on budget. And like one insight that we have is kind of like, it's more of like a fundamental issue what's happening when people run projects, and there's a couple of aspects to it. Like one is people are focusing too much on the solution that they're currently on. They're often picking a solution that's actually not really feasible, and then they're collaborating through something that I call serial collaboration. And you can kind of like explain like this serial collaboration happens whether it's like an agile team or a waterfall team, it's all the same. And it happens when like do you know kind of like the game of telephone? Is that a concept that is known in the UK? It's kids game. It might be called something different, but it's when kids like whisper something in one kid's ear, and then they give it from one person to the other. And in the US, it's called game of telephone.
But basically, Chinese whispers. It's referred to over here.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So when kids play it, it's fun when the outcome is wrong at the end, right? But when this happens in work quite a bit as well, except no one is realizing it's happening. So information is given from one to the other, and everyone has their best intent, but yet people end up working on things that just don't need to be built or don't need to be worked on. And this is happening because when people focus too much on kind of like the solution that's decided upon, the work becomes almost kind of like a factory. So a product planner might gather requirements of what needs to be built, or an account manager in a consultancy scenario. They will give it to the designer. The designer will design it as best as they can, and a developer will build it. But still, you still end up with a project that's where things are built that don't need building, and they go over budget in the end. And the main reason this is happening is because these people don't have the tools to kind of like question each other's contributions. And you can do that if you would focus on the outcome and really build kind of like a process around the outcome. And outcome is basically the kind of like the either the end user value or the client value or the value to you as a business that you're creating when the project is over. So when the project is done and we have met this outcome, we have done a good job. And so it's basically kind of like the requirements that our solution needs to adhere to when we're done. And now comes kind of like a mind shift, which is to kind of like to realize that there are many solutions that can meet that outcome. There are solutions that will get you over budget, and there are solutions that will get you on budget. So to state it very simply, you just have to pick the solution that will get you in on budget. And like you could think of it as like, let's say you want to come up with a solution to hold some sheets of paper together. Like we can quickly brainstorm some ways to do that, right? It could be a staple. We could, bind it together as a book, or we could use a paperclip. And they're all equally well at reaching this outcome of holding these pieces of paper together. But clearly, some of them will take a lot more money and time to accomplish. And maybe a paperclip is good enough for this. So when you have complex projects, it's not that easy, of course, to come up with a solution that meets all this. But I think there is a way to do it. And the way we're thinking about it is that if you state the outcome very clearly, and then the team can collaborate, not kind of like in a serial fashion, but like really kind of like together to find a solution that meets the outcome within the budget. They can do that by kind of like leveraging what we call the known. And so the known is basically everything that you have learned, your experience. So for me as a person, that could be, what I've learned as a designer and as an entrepreneur over the last 20 years. It's what I do personally. So like, for example, I might cook at home. So if let's say I throw a dinner party, and if I pick something that I've done before, it's kind of like part of my known. I know that I can start at 5 o'clock and we can sit down for dinner at 6. But I pick something kind of like outside of my known, some recipe I've read about, I've never tried it maybe. Like we might not be eating at 9 o'clock still. And yet, like this happens so often where people are picking solutions that are kind of like outside of their direct expertise, and they might not even be relevant to the outcome, and projects go over budget. Like it just doesn't work. And so for an individual, the known is kind of like clear. But now if you think about a group of people, it becomes this collective of information that's kind of like reality or the known. So then it becomes kind of like a question for these teams to really collaborate, leverage this knowledge, and come up with a solution that can get them on track. And we are using this quite a bit kind of like internally as well, and we're experimenting with it. So what we do is when we start a new feature, we will first specify the outcome, write it in a document, and then set a budget, like how much time do we want to spend on accomplishing this, this particular value that we're creating for our end users. And then the team collaborates, finding solutions that meet the outcome and the budget. And if we do a good job, we will come in on budget. Sometimes we cannot come up with a solution within the budget, and then we need to adjust, of course. That is possible, but like we would often know, kind of like going in, what it's going to look like and how familiar it is to us.
So I've got to ask as well, what's next for 10,000 feet? I mean, where else can you take this? Is there anything else that you can share with us today?
Sure, yeah. So we're mainly interested in creating software that supports what we think is going to the future of work. So where the current workforce is going. And we want to build things that will make it easier to manage the complexities of running a business. One challenge is around kind of like what not to add, right? Like to keep things simple. Like we are very against clunky software that's kind of like overly loaded with too many features. And so we believe we can create more simple tools that are powerful and effective, but stay high level. Like hence the name 10,000 feet. We kind of like locked into trying to make software that's simple and easy to use and high level, and provides the information that's needed to make day-to-day decisions.
Well, before I let you go, can you remind the listeners of your website details and also how they can contact either yourself or a member of your team if they've got any questions about all the points that we've raised today?
Yeah, definitely. So our website URL is 10,000feet.com, and that's written as 10,000 as a number, like a 1 with 4 zeros, and then letters FT. And my email is martijn@10,000feet.com. That's MARTIJN. And and you can find contact information on our website as well.
Fantastic. Well, a huge thanks for coming on today. I think we've all seen people that choose solutions outside of their expertise, and we've all experienced clunky software. So the fact that you're creating software for the future of work and actually keeping things simple is a big win in my book. So a big thanks for coming on and sharing your story today.
Well, thanks for having me.
I hope you enjoyed Martin's take on how he's trying to help advanced human-powered innovation, all starting at business level. Because it's interesting that despite these wealth of disciplines and the agile versus waterfall debates, the reality is that no matter what methodology you choose to run your projects, they're still coming in over budget. And I think this is something we need to tackle head on. Why are projects delayed? Why are projects still coming in over budget when we're using that nice new shiny methodology with Scrum Masters, trading card games and daily Scrum meetings? Because the same problems are still there. And it seems that we need to look at doing things a little bit differently. And I really appreciate Martin's input today, who has earned his stripes at Microsoft all those years ago and now making a difference with his company by doing things that a little bit different. But as for you listening, I mean, why do you think projects are still going over budget? Let me know your thoughts by tweeting me at Neil C. Hughes or sending me an email over to techblogwriter@outlook.com. I'd generally love to hear your thoughts, so keep all those messages coming in. Now, I will be back tomorrow bright and early with another new podcast for you all and another great guest. But that's it now, so all I've got to say is a genuine thank you for listening from me. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.